Hey, so this week was rough. It was interesting, and my face shows it. Um, I had to get a new phone, so I'm working with this new phone. And it's funny how we get addicted to technology, having grown up where there wasn't all of this. Um, but we get used to things. Humans are fantastic adapters, and I actually really liked my old Toys R Us phone. I got used to it. I understood it. It worked for me. And so now I have to make friends with this supposedly better technology. I'm not quite so sure that I feel that. The microphone is supposedly better, the camera is supposedly better, and all of that great stuff, but it didn't make getting it any fucking easier. Um, or the week any easier. But so there's been things that I wanted to say about that. Like, all pain is relative. The worst pain that you've ever felt in your life is the worst pain that you've ever felt in your life. And it's all experientially relative. But you have to keep in mind that 2,000 years ago, King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. And if he was right then, it's damn sure true now. The stage might have changed just a bit, but the fundamentals are the same. Um, and everything you need to know about anything has been said. But again, it's up to you to make your mistakes. It's up to you to do what you do. And I agree with Tom Robbins 100% when he said that we learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. And that's definitely true. I just wish that we lived in a world that didn't hammer us for our mistakes the way that it does. The American justice system is an abomination at this point. Our founding fathers would be rolling in their graves if they saw what had happened. It's justice for profit now. Um, and I really do have something to say about Kim Kardashian. Never been a fan of all of that, but and if she's doing this for a PR stunt, to get the 64-year-old grandmother whose first non-violent drug offense landed her life in prison, if getting her out was a PR stunt, then do more of them, Kim. Do more PR stunts. Because I have an idea about money and the use of money and the moral imperative. I live my life by the Al-Tashet rule. Do no harm. And I take that really to heart. Of course you're going to hurt people. And the gift we give those we love the most is to be the biggest shit to them. They're going to see us at our worst. So, you're welcome. I love you. Here I am being an asshole to you. And we do hurt them even when we don't want to hurt them because they love us. So when we make our mistakes, they're going to feel them along with us. Have a kid and tell me that I'm wrong. Because I'm not. Sorry, Mom. But we really do need to reassess things here in the United States. We need to stop putting people in prison because it makes somebody money. That doesn't help anyone in society. That's not, this whole idea of paying your debt to society has completely gone to the wayside. This woman didn't do anything to society. This woman was poor. And the last time I checked in this country, supposedly being poor wasn't a crime. That's a bunch of bullshit now. It is a crime. It is a crime. It's a crime. Just ask the IRS or Satan, one and the same. I do believe that the IRS is the only functioning government entity that we have in the United States anymore. The only one that actually works. And it makes me sick because everything, our founding fathers really had it right. They had it right. One of the major fundamentals of human nature is greed. And that is prompted by the survival instinct. Okay, fine. So they thought, what form of government can we create that will actually promote society and make people happy and be driven by a fundamental human urge of greed? And they did it. And it's been the best we've come up with yet as people. But we got to grow past that because greed has run rampant. We now are in a society where greed is good. And back to what I was saying about the moral imperative, I remember in the 90s, Hermes came out with a new bag. And this thing was a beautiful handbag. It's a fucking purse. Okay, it was purple leather, cow skin, poor cow. I would love to live in a world where something didn't have to suffer and die so that I could live. That would be the ultimate for me. But so many people on our planet don't even think about that. We got to get them moving forward a little bit, but that's way down the line for me, at least. Back to the Hermes bag. Now, remind you, I said this was in the 90s. Money has changed. We have this little thing called inflation. This bag was $150,000 for a purse, a handbag. When Kim went on her interview and she said that she could go on a shopping spree or she could do something legitimate with that money, I literally wanted to cry. She made a moment right there. She called out all of her fellow millionaires. And I don't care if it was a publicity stunt. It doesn't matter to me if she was doing it to cover up for Kanye's nonsense or whatever, to try and get people to like her again or whatever. I don't know if she's that smart. I really don't. I have no idea. I don't know the woman. Girl, in my opinion. But she did it. So who gives a flying fart in a high wind what her motives was? Does the woman who's now free care? No. I'll damn well guarantee that that poor woman does not care if Kim's motivation was some positive press, because the end result was to lessen suffering in the world and to undo a wrong. If you go and you spend $150,000 on a damn leather handbag, where is your moral imperative? Where's your line? I urge rich people to really stop and think about that. I'll give you $10,000. Go buy the nicest handbag you could possibly buy. You know, Jeffree Star, I agree with you. I like your videos. I think you're very interesting. I'm a fellow Scorpio. Hey. So I get it. And your money you earned, it's yours to spend however the hell you want. I agree with that. But where's your line, Jeffree? There are people all around you suffering for real pain. Some of them are actually dying because they can't afford their medical bills, because Big Farm is completely out of control in this country. I work with someone who used to do medical billing and he quit. He's now working with me making literally nothing. When I say literally nothing, I mean literally nothing. He used to be making 4 times what we now make at our current jobs, and he walked away. Because the immorality in the American medical system is so obscene that he couldn't take it anymore. Anyone with a soul can't take it. He just couldn't take it. There wasn't enough money in the world for him to do that to people anymore. Go to a free clinic, Jeffree. Go sit down. Go sit in the waiting room. Go to your local DES office and then set another designer bag on fire. We learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. You need to really look at the gift you were given in that mistake, because it was. It was conspicuous consumption, which is another word for obscenity. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for obscenity. I think it's important and necessary in certain circumstances. But when you are sacrificing your own pleasure and fun, when you could be doing something profound to lessen suffering in the world, I urge you to think about that. You and every other rich person. A couple times a year, just do one nice thing, like Kim said. I really think Kim's onto something. I applaud her up one side and down the other, and I don't really care about anything else she does. I am now a fan of hers. Yeah, Kim Kardashian. She took her platform and she did something real with it. Al Tashet. Do no harm. When you set a designer handbag on fire, are you doing harm? Everything in the world is cause and effect, and you're not the only one. The Koch brothers, ConAgra, Monsanto, Big Farm, on and on and on. On and on and on are just crushing the rest of us. Look at my face. I have worked myself into an early grave just trying to fucking survive. I have been mashed by the justice system. I made one mistake in my life. Did everything right. Got a college degree. Didn't even have a speeding ticket. I did one wrong thing. I did one wrong thing. And it took everything else away. Because of that one wrong thing. The only thing, the singular thing they didn't do to me was put me in prison, for which I will always be grateful. Don't get me wrong. That was the only thing they didn't do. Some 30 years later, and you look at my face, the lawyers who convicted me, fraudulently convicted me, I'm looking at you, Gila County. This is what you did. And you know why they were able to do it? Because I made a mistake. And then I did the worst thing you can do in the justice system. I admitted it. I said, yeah, I was wrong. I screwed up. I shouldn't have done that. I'll own it. I should own it. I did it. I took responsibility. And they put me in the grinder and spit me out for dead. One single mistake. I have never been able to use my degree because everything else was washed away. Did I deserve that? We learn more from our failures than we do our successes. To a point. And it makes me wonder, and I've wondered a lot, if maybe the point of that wasn't to help fight the justice system. But see, they know what they're doing. You got to pay your rent. You got to pay your bills. You got to support your child. You got to grind, baby. You got to grind. And so I did. And it kept me a little busy, you know? Kept me just a little bit busy. Trying to pay that rent and everything. Especially once her father died. So it was just her and I. What are you going to do? You're going to survive, right? Do you have any idea what $150,000 a handbag, one handbag, would have literally changed my entire life? And you never would have known the difference, Jeffrey. You and all the people who bought that $150,000 Hermes bag. It wouldn't have been a blip on your radar. I heard that some famous basketball player wore a suit to some function. I don't know, and the suit pants were cut off into shorts. The only thing I got out of all of that was that the God-blessed suit was $146,000. What the fuck is worth that? You could have done with that money? You could have found someone like me, and I'm not saying me. This is not some sort of pitch for me, because mine's done. My daughter's grown. It's over. but someone like me, and say, you know what? I've got $146,000 to waste. Let's change your life. And it's not about getting into heaven. It's not about any kind of religious thing. It's about the here and the now. It's about doing right. It's about al-tashit. It's about doing no harm. It's about lessening suffering in the world and doing what you can. You know, all these rappers that stunt and flex and all this nonsense. What are you doing? Have you ever read a book? Do you know what a library is? What I find most curious about the internet right now is that we have more access to information than at any other time in history. Rest in peace, the Library of Alexandria. Hashtag it. Library of Alexandria learned something today. And don't think that I'm doing that to be condescending because of the tone of my voice. You can't know everything. And see, here's the thing. The more you know, a curious thing happens. The more you realize what you don't know, and it's incredibly humbling. I don't know shit. I've read Plato's Epistemology. And epistemology is a search for knowledge. It was his final work, Plato, the philosopher. He went on an intellectual quest. And after all that work, we can bring it back to the tarot card called the Fool. He knew nothing. So if you're going to use the internet, learn one thing every day. Try to take the blinders off and stop the conspicuous consumption. It's obscene. It's immoral. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. It's horrific. I nearly had a breakdown this week because of a $50 phone. Who can relate? Who can relate? I'm a college graduate, okay? I have a really good full-time job that I love, but it doesn't make any money. I work with people who would sacrifice $250,000 a year to work with me because they have a soul that's intact. I don't know, those were my thoughts and many, many more this week because it was really, really hard. So I just want to say, you know, I lived through it. It's all we can do. The only way to fail is to quit, right? Remember that all experience is relative. Know that your pain is specific to you. Your suffering is specific to you. There's probably a gift hidden behind the crisis, a lesson to learn. Unfortunately, human beings are hardwired for that. Caveman put his hand in the fire burned, and he learned not to do that again. That's just how we're wired. We learn from pain. It sucks. Don't fight the feeling. Just don't give up. And don't think it's specific to you. And that isn't to take away your individuality. That isn't to take away the specificity of your own experience. That's all you are. And it's real for you. It's all you've got. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like the snowflake analogy. All of us are a snowflake, each, every one, individual. Our fingerprints are all unique, all of that whole line of thinking. But when you go up high enough, you realize we're just all the same. Don't even get me started on that. Oh my God, that's a whole other set of videos. No, I'm not going on that train of thought right now. The world is a contradictory place, okay? You are very unique and special within your specificity, but you are one of everyone else. So relax. Get through it. Don't quit. Have a sense of humor. Don't take it too seriously. laugh through your exhaustion, and keep on pushing, because that's all you've got. You've got your life. You own it. It's yours. Do what you want. Try not to break the law, because the thought of giving these bastards any more money makes me sick. You know, when I see all these young rappers getting busted and going to jail, it breaks my heart. You're feeding right into their master plan. I hope you know that. Big picture, guys. Relatable Oddball is a YouTube channel that I follow, and he's awesome. And he's trying to tell you guys something. You need to listen. Like, for real, for real. If you can't take it from a fat old white lady, then take it from him. See the bigger picture. That's what he said. Cats need to be peeping the bigger picture. Funny coming out of my mouth. But you really do. You've got all this money, and you've got a public voice. What do you think the powers that be want you to do next? Ask yourself that question. You have made it out of the ghetto. You have money and you have a voice. Some authoritarian motherfucker up in some office somewhere. What do you think he thinks when he looks at you? Cell Block 8, baby. Get him off those streets, and you're playing right into his hand by doing dumb shit. Driving drunk when you could help one of your homeboys by hiring him as your driver so he can feed his kids. Don't be an asshole. Don't be an ass-ache. And don't play into their hand. If a fat old white lady can get chewed up and spit out by the justice system, what do you think your chances are? Come on now. Do better. And whether you like it or not, you are an example. And the they in the sky would like nothing more than to show everyone around you what happens when you don't play by their rules. Think. I wish someone had told me that when I was 22. All right, well, we made it through another week. I'm going to try and vlog more. They won't all be this preachy. I'm going to try and get back to my own timeline, like the in situ thing, the thing like trying to understand somebody else's reality by knowing where they came from. For me, it all started in a green school bus. For real, for real. I did grow up in a legitimate green school bus. Authentic hippie chick. Right here. I was literally one of those naked hippie kids running around in music festivals. I was one of those people. My parents were two innocent farm kids from Iowa. They were educated. You know, Iowa was big on education at that point. I think it still is, for all I know. I haven't been to Iowa in years. But I was born to my parents, the only child. And the doctor who delivered me also delivered my mother and my grandmother, and I was the last baby he ever delivered before he died. You can make of that what you will. Was that foreshadowing? Holy crap, stop now, stop. And it just kind of went from there. My parents painted the school bus themselves, and it looked professionally done. I have pictures. If I can find them, I will post them. Actually, I think there are a couple of them on my Facebook. And they just traveled around the United States. That was my childhood, in a green school bus. Broken down more often than not. super poor. It's like when I comment on various videos, like the rap videos and stuff like that, when I make a comment, and these boys, they're always boys. I don't know why they're always boys. They're always boys. And they're like, fat white cracker bitch, get off of here. You don't know anything, la la la. You don't know what it's like to be poor in the ghetto. No, I've never eaten out of a dumpster. I've never had to shoplift from a grocery store. I've never had to do those things. I wouldn't know. I didn't spend the first part of my education in New Orleans, one of 3 kids who were white in an all-black school. I wouldn't know anything about it. Not a thing. Look before you leap, boys. You don't know who you're talking to. And you might be pleasantly surprised that they do get it. As much as anyone can get anything, my final paper in college was about a French filmmaker called Alain Resnais, and he created something called a docudrama, and it was using the footage that the Allied forces took when they went into Dachau and Auschwitz in World War II. They had an idea of what they were walking into, but they didn't know for certain, and they took film footage. And he used that film footage to make a docudrama. So it's part movie, fake, and part actual footage from World War II. So these movies, there is Hiroshima, Mon Amour, and Night and Fog. If you've never seen them, you might want to have a look. It might change your perspective on a lot of things. It did me. I remember being in the auditorium and we were watching Night and Fog. We watched both of them, but during Night and Fog, a lot of the film is in silence. There's no sound at all, and you don't realize it. And I mean, people were vomiting, sobbing, running out of the auditorium. It was hard to sit through. This is real. Really happened in World War II. If you don't know what the Nazis did, if you don't know what happened in World War II, you really need to get educated. This is serious, man. Those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it, and this is something that can never happen again. Back to the film screening. And yes, this does relate to what I was saying, very much so. He didn't put any sound when he was showing the Allied forces film footage of what went on inside the concentration camps. It was completely silent. But for a lot of us, maybe most of us, I don't know, there's this screaming in your head, literal siren going off. So in my final paper, my thesis was, we can never understand what the Holocaust survivors went through. That is an impossibility. Never say you understand what another person went through. But we have a moral obligation to try. Serious as a heart attack. We have a moral obligation to try always and forever and never stop to understand what the Holocaust survivors went through. I had a really hard week. For me, it was really hard. But I wasn't one of Mengele's patients. For me, it was hard, yes. But in the bigger picture, it was nothing. 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 And I use that not to put my own experience down, but to get me through it, to realize people have been through way worse than trying to buy a new damn cell phone. Come on now, honey, I know you're tired, but let's get real here. Right? I didn't have a hose shoved down my throat and drown from the inside out so that Mengele could understand what happens to the human organs when that goes on. So that was my point. We can never understand another person's experience, but we have an obligation to try. Empathy is a beautiful thing. And I guess ultimately, just don't quit. Just don't quit. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. Don't quit. Keep pushing. Keep grinding. There's nothing new under the sun. Talk to you guys later. Peace.